There have been many Final Fantasy challenges attempted over the years. The classic speedrun, only magic, one-shot runs. But I think I've found a challenge that no one has ever attempted. Beating a Final Fantasy game without actually playing the game. Now that may seem impossible to some. The whole point of gaming is to pick up a controller or settle at your keyboard and play a game. It seems completely counterintuitive to try play a game without playing it, but bear with me, because I've found a way. Let's take a quick look at the Oxford Dictionary definition of the word play. To engage in activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or practical purpose. So, if I undertake this task purely for the reason of creating this YouTube video, I circumvent the enjoyment and recreation, as I am doing this for, might not be a serious reason, but it's practical in the sense of creating content for all of you, my lovely viewers and subscribers. So with my chosen game ready, can I beat Final Fantasy XIII without playing it? I'm not allowed to have fun. Our journey begins with a visually stunning opening cinematic, which I skip because I'm not allowed to enjoy myself in this video. Luckily, the first chapter of this game holds little enjoyment for a normal returning player, as there's no character leveling, and the only loot drops aren't worth farming. Chapter 2 is where I decided to farm shrouds. These are usable items in the overworld before entering a battle that can grant buffs or another kind of perk. There are 4 shrouds in total, and I decided I'd get a few of each before proceeding. I was here for hours, and I can honestly tell you, I didn't have fun. Multiple hours and 50 odd Deceptor Souls later, I got the final shroud I needed for my stupid as fuck challenge, so now I can move on. The rest of chapter 2 is standard fare, and now I can actually get to the rest of the gameplay, moving into chapter 3. Chapter 3 is where the paradigm system is unlocked, and normally I'd go on about how innovative I find 13's combat system, and how the party being healed after every battle allows for what I believe to be the hardest string of normal encounters in the series up to Final Fantasy XIII's release, allowing for more challenging gameplay to sink your teeth into. But doing so, as well as stating that this game's graphical fidelity holds up today, means I'm admiring something which extends to me having fun, and I'm not allowed to do that for this video, so I won't say any of that. On to chapter 4, and I think it's agreed that chapter 4 is probably the worst in the game. All April Fool's jokes aside, I do struggle to enjoy chapter 4 even on a normal playthrough of Final Fantasy XIII. It goes on for quite a while longer than it needs to and overstays its welcome. I think if there was a bit more vibrance to the area you traverse through, then it might be a bit better, but it does tend to drag. And what sucks is that I can't even say the Vile Peaks works for the lore of the world, so it makes sense for it to be a bit dingy. I can't admire that when you fight Odin, he'll primarily target Hope as a lesson for Lightning to protect him, using her newly acquired medic abilities. So it brings cutscene and story into gameplay, because if I do that, then I'm having fun and I'm enjoying myself. Chapter 5 grants me control of my least favourite character in 13. I don't like his running animation. He's good in combat though, he's a great medic, he's a good buffer, while being the most powerful mage in the game. No, stop enjoying myself, I'm not allowed. But chapter 5 does lay out my least favourite thing about Hope. He's 14, just lost his mother, sure. But even I know a 14-year-old like Hope wouldn't be so eager to kill a man twice his size. Even if he's impressionable and Lightning ends up putting him on the wrong path while trying to help him, I just find it a bit unbelievable. Luckily though, about halfway through the chapter, I get control of Lightning again, and I have to remind myself to stop having fun. Chapter 6 is very short and easily dealt with, since Vanille is a brilliant saboteur, easy to avoid certain difficult fights if I wanted or needed. Enki and Enlil are also easy to keep on top of, not much to advise of, just that I'm still not having fun. Chapter 7 in Powlum Polum is the biggest for set pieces in the game. Snow comes back from being captured back in chapter 3, Fang joins the party, a lot of character development takes place that I can't talk about because I'm not allowed to have fun. Aside from the resolution of Hope's hatred of Snow, which I've already said I think is a bit dumb, Hope's house is a great place to grind for the future if you want, as enemies just keep respawning and they drop good enough items to sell for you to buy upgrade materials. But we destroy government property and head to an amusement park. We can't go any rides though, luckily, because I'm not allowed to have fun. Chapter 8 is another very short chapter, which really makes me think that Square didn't hold a lot of faith in Sazh and Vanille as a pair of protagonists. Even their segments in chapter 9 are a hell of a lot shorter than Lightning's before the whole party reassembles. But going about Nautilus genuinely isn't that much fun regardless of stupid April Fool shenanigans. Following a small burb is also not fun. Charge up a small hill, blow up a tank, and fight a woman who turns into a car. On to chapter 9. Kill people, kill mechs, blow up a ship, and the Pope is a robot. Moving on. Chapter 10 I find to be kind of the same as chapter 4. It's more interesting to look at, but luckily for me today, the rooms repeat themselves very often, so it starts to getting old before I risk having fun. Cid can be a challenging challenging boss as he has the same abilities as the whole party, but I've played this game enough to stay on top of the challenge. Bahamut can still be a bitch though, and it isn't fun to fight him, as he can easily kill you very quickly. Let's move on to Chapter 11. Grand Pulse is the most expansive map in Final Fantasy XIII. It accommodates a lot of exploration, post-game activities, missions, and battles. There's a lot to do here, and the trek from one side to another without any cutscenes takes a very long time. Square really did pull it out the bag though with Grand Pulse's design, but I can't keep going on about that, otherwise you guys will think I'm having fun. There is a lot to get done in Chapter 11, just talking in terms of story and ignoring side challenges. An Eidolon fight that starts the chapter, followed by a long walk to another Eidolon fight, a couple of mandatory missions with a boss, and then another encounter with a boss at the end. Chapter 11 will most likely count towards the majority of your playthrough compared to the other chapters, but that's just because it's designed to be explored after you've beaten the story in the postgame. Chapter 12 is a weird one for me. With the latest Crystarium upgrades, you can really start gaining stats much faster than ever before. There is a noticeable difficulty increase with the mandatory fights, and then we have the Proudclad. I fucking hate this thing. I really hate it. I don't enjoy losing at a game at the best of times, but this fight takes the piss. I will never understand how speedrunners are able to consistently get this fight done, because I am never able to get this timing down. I just throw myself at it until something works. It's not fun. And then we arrive at Chapter 13, which is the final stage of gameplay, and again, not a lot happens here. All the story by the time you get here is pretty much done, and nothing really happens between entering Orphan's Cradle and then getting to the final boss against Bart and Orphan. Chapter 13 is just one long boss rush, and while I normally do find that fun, you do need something to break it all up. Look at Final Fantasy X, for example. There is a boss rush at the end with Sin, Seymour, Jecht, and Yu Yevon possessing the summons. But breaking all that up is story and character moments. You don't really get any of that in Chapter 13. Now, that's not saying you can't have fun with it, and I won't admit that I did, because if I do, then I've failed the challenge, but 13's final chapter is far from the best the game has to offer. All the characters have had their moments, and not much even happens in between the final 3 fights. Bart dies and fuses with Orphan. Orphan 1 turns the team into Seath, but didn't, and Fang becomes Ragnarok, but then doesn't. Then Orphan 2 is no challenge at all. As a final fight, I would have expected Orphan 1 difficulty, but aside from the Doom timer, Orphan 2 is just a victory lap. Cocoon falls out of the sky, Fang and Vanille turn into Ragnarok, and then turn into a glass pillar, and Lightning falls into a hole. Bye.